Hey guys, this is D4RKV1N3 and I'm here talking about ReZero, Prophecy of the Throne. Now, I will say, to those streams that were super long and annoying to edit, honestly, they were somewhat fun, sort of. Hanging out with my friends was fun. This game was not. Anyway, aside from that, I'm gonna try not ranting, even though this fucking game doesn't deserve $50 worth of money. Anyway, Ronnie, don't get mad. Anyway, let's get started with this review, because it's gonna be a fun one. I will divide it into smaller sections, though there will be a few long sections. Let's talk positives. That being the voice acting. The voice acting in this game is pretty good, actually, surprisingly, considering this game is a load of crap anyway. The characters are definitely sound like their anime counterparts for both English and Japanese, since the voice actors really put a lot of effort to sound like their respective characters. Here are some examples.
この服選んだやつを分かってる。
何のことだかわからないけど、くだらないことってわかるのがすごく残念。もうラムやレムよりも有名人なんじゃない？
まあ、俺ってばさりげに村を救ったヒーローみたいなとこあるしね。そしてそのことを恩に着せたり、触れ回ったりしないダンディズム。
Well, in that case, I have but one request. I'm starting to like this mansion. Hire me to work here.
You trust me that little? We're taking this really seriously. Right, Rem?
Yes. Concerning Subaru's injuries, I checked his body while he was sleeping, so there is no need to worry.
See? Even Rem... Wait, you did what while I slept?
Aside from that, yeah, I really do think this is one of the good highlights. One of the good. Still a pile of trash, but here's a little brightness in this little pile of trash. The OSTs. Oh boy, what to say to these. They're not bad. Honestly, ReZero's background music tends to be really good. So this is just ReZero standards for a shitty ReZero game. So in a way, this music, especially the opening, the game does not deserve this. It does not deserve this goodness that it has. But I'll play you a bit of it without getting copyrighted. Hopefully.
I distract myself from pain, but violently lost change. The picture drawing is sad. It's erased the version.
The visuals, the artistry, the design. For this part, I actually will let Darkvine take over, since she's more of an artist than I am. Take it away, Darkvine.
Hey, Green, thanks for welcoming me back to your channel, and to anyone who is a fan of both my channel and his, yeah, I'm not dead. So, today I'm just going to be going over the art style, probably like Green Warrior just said, and, well, there's a lot to kind of break down with ReZero Prophecy of the Throne. So, I'm kind of just going to point out some of the things that I kind of noticed that they just made it a little iffy for me as far as the art style goes and how the art just in general goes. The first thing I kind of want to cover is the poor beast people. Oh, those poor beast people. Pretty much every single beast person had one of two basic designs. The small kind of golden retriever look, which not sure why they made them so small and have that golden retriever kind of look, but you know, whatever. And the kind of wolf look. Well, except for the big main characters that we see a lot in the anime. Other than them, all of the background Beast People characters were basically the same two designs. And it's just like, that shows a level of lacking effort that I can't overlook. I understand they may have had a limited amount of time to do different characters, different background characters, but I mean, don't make it obvious that they're the same exact design. There were like two characters, one of each design, that had a different color than the rest, and maybe a little bit of a different size. And I think one of the wolf people or one of the dog people, I'm not sure which. I can't really remember at the moment. Green will probably have something on the screen. I think one of them had like a scar or something that set them apart from the rest of the background characters, but other than that, it was literally the same design. And then there were a few times that characters' hands didn't quite look right, like in some of the dialogue portions. Some of the hands didn't look quite right. I think I don't remember the name of the character, but the guy with the kind of like very like pastel greenish hair that was basically Subaru but better. He had some issues with his hands, and I think Salem did too a little bit. Yeah, and then another thing, the frickin' chipmunk was literally just Puck but bigger and a chipmunk. I found that so funny. They did not change enough design elements to make it a distinct character. So, yeah, that was something. And then kind of moving on to the chibi part, that was kind of a trash fire. That was sort of a trash fire. It transitioning from the dialogue or even the nice, beautiful stills into the chibi portion, it felt so choppy. Like, it was really choppy. They just cut in, and it's like you have no transition to really like get the idea that yeah, this is part of the same game. Or yeah, this is not technically a mini game, this is an important part of the story. So that's kind of a that was kind of a turnoff for me. But with the chibi part, they also had some minor issues with lighting. There was just some minor issues with lighting that I noticed. That it was like stuff just didn't quite look right. Like they used the wrong kind of lighting. Like they used moonlight for midday, and it just didn't quite look right. Like it was too white for the middle of the day, and that just kind of looked a little wrong. Also, I think that part could have been saved by using lines and stuff to outline the characters and kind of make them a bit, I guess you could say, like, a bit more obvious, if that makes any sense. It's just, without putting lines around the characters, it looked like they were trying to go for something and didn't quite get there. It also made the characters look like frickin' Pokemon Rumble. Because Pokemon Rumble has that kind of, like, no lines look, but it's really blocky, and it doesn't quite look right. And that's kind of what the chibi portions of ReZero had going on. It had that kind of blocky, not quite looking right sort of thing going on. Like, the resolution wasn't high enough. And then, yeah, other than that, I don't have very many more gripes about the art. The art style itself was very nice. It, like, other than the chibi part, it was very aesthetically pleasing. It was nice and detailed. At times, maybe a little too detailed, so I guess that's one more complaint I can make. A few of the characters were a little busy in their design, but overall, character design was pretty good. They made each of the major characters unique. My only real gripe with character design is some of them were a little overcomplicated, and others were, mainly with the background characters, they were oversimplified so that they could just reuse and reuse and reuse those poor background characters. And like I mentioned before, just too many of them were literally the same design, even though they were supposed to be distinct characters. They could have done with a little more color palette changing, maybe, and that would have saved it a little bit. But other than that, yeah, the character design's pretty good. A lot of the characters, they look like they do in the anime, with the exception of course, the ones that aren't in the anime, like Melty and Subaru, but better. Yeah, they were pretty good. The background design was pretty phenomenal. It kept true to the anime pretty well, and it was just pretty. The stills that they used were pretty nice. I don't really think I have any gripes with the stills. They had very good lighting, they were beautifully drawn, and overall, just they were beautiful. They were really great. I wish there were more of the stills, but unfortunately, there were hardly any, and that really, if they had added more stills, that would have been very nice. I would have liked to have seen stills in certain places where there was something really dramatic going on. And while they did have some in some of those places, I don't feel like they had enough. And that overall made the game feel a little bit more choppy as well. Like, even though they did kind of just fade into and out of the stills, they still looked very beautiful, and I think fading in and out was the right choice. And if they had had more of that, then the game would have felt a little bit more smoother, I think, as far as art is concerned. Overall, I think I'm kind of going to just say that the art style was good, with the exception of the chibi portion. And yeah, overall, the art looked very nice. Another, okay, I do have one more gripe about it, and that's mostly just about the movement. Outside of the stills, like I said, I have no real gripes about the stills. I legitimately can't think of anything off the top of my head. And with the kind of like things going on with characters trying to move into new positions, I think it would have benefited with just cutting into those positions or finding a different way to move them, because they looked kind of like paper puppets or like paper robots, or those things where you put those little pins in and you fold over the little flaps on the pins and then they just kind of move around like paper marionettes almost. That's really what that portion kind of felt like. And yeah, that's kind of what I think about the art in this game. Overall it was pretty good, but there were a few things kind of dragging it down. And overall, I've probably got to give it a 6 out of 10 overall. And that includes the chibi portion in that, if I'm just summing it all nicely up into one little rating. So yeah, that's my little art review.
Characters! Now, this is in both good and bad territory, depending on what we're talking about. But let's go with good first. For the majority of the cast, the main cast, ranging from Natsuki, Subaru, Emilia, Ram, hell, even Roswell, and so on, they literally act the same. Well, except for one tiny detail. Subaru is somewhat smart in this. He isn't being stupid, comparing to Arc 3 episode 13, but he's also not entirely there sometimes. He isn't in the borderline selfish or stubborn, like basically getting in a fight with Emilia, which is interesting because this is just basically Arc 2 Subaru in the end of the day. Though there are some interesting interactions with these main cast of characters, such as on his fourth and final death in this game, Ram actually does show some actual caring for the boy, which actually got my attention. There's also some hidden things that the anime doesn't show, such as the Shadow Realm, or Shadow Garden, I mean. Damn, you know. The Shadow Garden of the Witch of Envy. Al talking to Rem, like in the manga / light novel. And the interactions within the knights themselves is actually pretty cool. And there are other little gems here and there. Funny moments. And very disturbing if you really think about it a lot. But there's some, at least when it comes down to the original cast, that they're faithful to their anime / light novel counterparts. This game's still another point of good for it. It does something good. But at the same time, when it comes down to its new cast, I mean, you can say they're okay at best, or forgettable at worst, or just pathetic at the just bottom tier. Forgettable would be someone like Solemn, since we rarely see him, and making him the obvious freaking contender to be Wolf, the antagonist of this story. There's also the weirdly looking spirit Polka, which I guess is somewhat interesting, having a spirit be a fan of Puck and wanting to inspire to be like Puck. But as also the problem with Solemn, she isn't there as much, so there's not really much to go with. Now, Melty, no, not that Melty. Melty Priestess, such a stupid last name, is quite literally the same Amelia's personality, just as a nun. I'm not even kidding. She kind of has a romance with her knight, Tiga, which is a lot more advanced than what Subaru and Amelia's feelings are towards each other. That's not just overly one-sided. At least that's what I want to put it into this version of events. And she's okay, I guess. She's sweet. That's okay going for her. Like, I can't really say more to it. Now, Sakura, which the very milfy looking one, is just Sakura. I mean, what? She's annoying. She's literally the easiest one to tell that she's the villain. What else is there to say? Though there is one interesting thing about her character, is the connection to entity known as Mother. Spoilers, by the way. This is basically the Sin Archbishop of Lust, Capella Lagunica. So there's a little fun fact. So she is connected to mostly the assassin group rather than the witch cult. Unless that group is also run by the witch cult. Then kind of, I guess she's still under Lust's group. So basically, Lust has another member. Just wish it was more interesting than just an obvious villain. But I digress. And we have Tiga, who is just Natsuki Subaru, but better. Ironically though, he literally is a combination of looks regarding like Otto. He definitely dresses fancy, and I gotta give him that. He looks fancy as hell. I love his design. But his character is definitely one of stubborn but caring, and somewhat smart. He definitely gives me more Subaru vibes, if anything. So he's basically just Subaru but better. And then obviously the little cameo of Betelgeuse, who honestly, regardless of a villain, he still steals the show, which is my big problem with this. The new characters are just like, Tiga's probably one of the best out of the new characters, and that's not saying much considering they're all not in the very high tiers of super good characters. He is literally just the most interesting one out of the bunch, which is sad because, I mean, ReZero has a lot of interesting characters, a lot of different personalities, and sadly all these new characters just don't live up to that. Hell, as I said, Betelgeuse, he appears for a short time and he still steals the show. Gameplay. There isn't much to say aside from just the 3 sections. The first being the exploration part, which honestly, yeah, it looks like a pile of crap, but you can still make do with it. Like, it does its purpose, it's not broken. I mean, aside, you can talk with people here and there, it's okay. And if you consider okay being a 5 out of 10. Then there is the second section, which is the choosing what to do route, which is completely offensive because, let's see, if you don't explore anything, you will have moments where you cannot choose anything at all, meaning you're just fucked. Literally, the next session, this section it becomes irrelevant because there's no plan, there's no planning. It's a planning point. It's supposed to be kind of like how in a Telltale game, you choose your route on where to go, and you do that. But this game, for some reason, sometimes it won't give you the option. Sometimes it forces you to do the option.
No, it's not working. I guess the game is telling us. I mean, we're all agreeing with the game then.
And the others is just, I mean, the only one that has the most interesting is the final battle. Literally the most diverse one out of all, but that's not saying much considering the expectations is beyond down. And then there is the third section, which is the battles themselves. Do I really need to say anything? I mean, hell, I'll show you this clip of what it feels like.
Oh my fuck god. No.
My body's so hot.
No.
Amelia.
No! 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 This was so wonderful!
Right over here?
No, all the way back.
Oh fuck, I'm out of turns.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Go to see that?
Ah, fuck, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it.
How did you not see that?
Shit. I'm already dead anyway.
No.
Achievement locked. You are indeed sloth.
Yes.
Fuck.
The wood scraps are well secured by the sandbag. I
guess I was waiting for the raccoons I run again, boys.
There was never a plan. Damn it, there was never a plan.
We'll figure something out.
Hey, use this.
I am not dying. You wanna know why? Because this is bullshit. Look at all the rounds we wasted. This does not deserve. No. How do I pause? Please, get me out of this. Fuck that. They literally speak for themselves. The gameplay side of things. The final battle is the only one that somehow has the most interesting yet underwhelming experience. It's disappointing. Story time. I don't want to talk about just how bad it is, because that's probably going to be this entire section. Like, if you haven't seen Arc 3 of ReZero, which I'd be surprised, this will be like the most longest drag game of Among Us, because it's kind of obvious who the imposter is. And even if you haven't seen it, and if you've seen it, you've already know this is the most pointless storyline of all time. And, oh boy, like the gameplay parts and the filler parts not only drag the story down to hell, but the pacing just gets so slow, it literally just annoys anyone. And then there are a few interesting moments, which are the character interactions. Some story things happening do catch our attention, but in the end, that's here and there. Hell, the final boss fight, that's probably the most we had the attention towards the game. Other than that, the game just feels basically what it is, a shitty visual novel game that just so happens to take the IP of an actual good anime, and that is bad. Like, what happened here? How is this story so weak? Like, Tappe, what happened? Why did you let this story go downhill like this? Also, funny thing is that I kind of skipped the what happened, like his little flashback at the very beginning of explaining how events happen, because, well, I didn't really think of it. And ironically, that served for the better, because that would have just dragged us all downhill of just boredom and boredom, since nothing interesting was shown there. Bonus part. Nothing much to say here. It's just, I love the game how it's like, you won, and here's your little reward. It's just Amelia, Rem, and Beatrice in bikinis. in a quote-unquote beach episode. That's literally all your reward that we got. Yeah, that's kind of like a middle finger to us. Like, it's like a FU moment of the game saying that to us. Yep, you bet this was gonna happen. I may have ranted just a tad bit here and there, but this is a full-on rant area. Now, I'll go first. My biggest problem with the game, and this is just personal rant. You can skip to the timestamp here if you just want to head straight to the conclusion, but you definitely should hear me and my friends, those who wanted to anyway. What we think of this game is such wasted potential. I'm not even kidding. It's just, you have return by death. You have different routes. Hell, the mobile game has the most interesting thing, and that one doesn't have like the most complex of gameplay or anything. It has an actual interesting story where your choices mattered. What happened here? This could have been literally a detective game, just with some deaths. Maybe have a no death run if you can even figure that out. Like, you could have done so much with this, only for the game to turn out in such a trash, not worthwhile game. Hell, this is more linear than anything, and it could have been so diverse with its choices. Hell, look at Black Ops 2. It has diverse choices, and it has a linear story to a degree. Yet, ReZero, Prophecy of the Throne, which has a game where Return by Death, Subaru can go into basically different paths. Hell, you can make him go to Pride if, Wrath if, Sloth if, Greed if, etc. Like, you didn't do anything with this possibility. So guess what? This game is just, it sucks because I really wanted it to be good. I really do. This was not worth $50 at all. Not even 30. Hell, this wasn't even worth any money. This is just a waste of a game.
This game was a freaking trash fire. It was so, like, I may have given the art, some of the art, kind of like a glowing review, but like, oh my gosh, where were the stills? They didn't have enough stills. And that would have made the drama in the game so much better. Like, the bug scene. Like, I hated just hearing the bug scene, but like, it would have made it that much more creepy if they had had a freaking still of it. Like, seriously, where were the stills? Oh my gosh. Like, other than that, like, friggin' trash fire. Just total trash fire. The gameplay sucked. The movement, like, the movement in the, like, chibi portion had a lot to. It left a lot to be desired. And it was just. Oh man, this game was bad. The story. Why did they try to do the freaking story the way they did? It just didn't work. It seriously just didn't work. Like, they should have, they should have done a little bit more. I'm sorry. I just they the story there was like, it was so unfinished. Like, I'm sorry. It's just too much. I can't. This game was just, I can't. I can't. Goodbye.
This is Narku Bashuba. I'm here to give you my 2 cents on ReZero, a ReZero game known called ReZero Prophecy of the Throne. My opinion of the game is, it's hard to call it, it doesn't have to be called a game. It's very little gameplay, and I consider it over the top OVA. The story mode for this OVA is very predictable, and it drags on a lot of places. The character art is basically copy and paste. There's no really difference. There's no really alternative character art. There's usually one character art per character. And like, some characters throughout the game share the same character art, so it's hard to tell who's talking based on the character art that's shown. The only way you know who's talking is the fact that at least they have the sense to like provide, to give you the name of the character that's currently speaking. But aside of that, there's no other way to distinguish one character from the other, aside from the main characters. So And like I said, the gameplay is few and far between, and the story mode drags a lot of times. I don't think the game is worth the price tag to buy, and I believe this game belongs in the bargain bin. Belongs in the bargain bin of like $5 or less type of games. I will give this game over a grade of D, because I know there are games out there that are there are some games that are way worse than this. So I don't want to give this an F. So I want to be safe and give this game a D. This is Narku Bashuba. This is my 2 cents on ReZero versus Another World, The Prophecy of the Throne.
Let's just finish this off. The game is stupid. It's stupidly wasted potential.
Such wasted potential.
Yes, I said it like that. Actually, no. It's just wasted. From the trailers, yeah, you could tell that it could be, which ended up being, a shitty game. But considering how they showed that there was a lot of strategy possibly involved, it looked somewhat intriguing. Only for the reality to hit in and show that it's just a real big disappointment. The only good things were the visuals of most characters, the music, the voice acting, for sure the voice acting, and the jiggle physics. Like, that's it. That's really it. Not the gameplay, not the story, like the most biggest freaking core being the story. No. The jiggle physics were most important. Like, it has been a year since the game came out, and I really do love ReZero. Heck, my friends like the show. Like, they're not as fanatic like I am, but it's just such a lackluster, and I think we can all agree at this point that this was horse shit. So, for the first time in my life, I will rank an actual game a 1 out of 10. Like, seriously, what the hell were they thinking? Anyway, I'd like to thank Darkvine for, well, doing the art section of this video, since I didn't think she would, but I really do appreciate it. I appreciate also her and Narku for doing their part of the rant part with me, since, well, I think we've all been holding this up. It's just, Cool Ken, as he put it when he eventually denied doing the rant part, is how, honestly, there wasn't much to say, since this game was we lost time playing this game, and it's kind of sad, because despite how much I hate this game and how much it just desecrates what ReZero is, the fact that it got us all together and we all just chatted and have fun. It was just a get together at this point. We ate, we had fun, we made fun of the game, we did some dumb things in the side while the game was playing. It's like, that really is, it's such a letdown when a game just doesn't fulfill any potential. It's worse. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this review, and until next time, this is Green Warrior 291 signing out.